In this authentic and inspiring conversation, my guest shares how courage, self-love, and faith have shaped her journey as a Black woman in public health. From boldly shaving her hair as an act of personal liberation to standing up against injustice in the workplace, she reflects on the moments that called her to take action despite fear and how those moments continue to fuel her purpose today. She invites us into her story of modeling as a plus-size woman, where she champions body positivity and helps young women embrace self-love at every stage of life. She also speaks to the power of preparation, self-knowledge, and faith as tools for navigating spaces that don't always welcome Black women's leadership. You're listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast, Episode 18. To all the courageous Black, Indigenous, and women of color leading in public health, this podcast is your space to turn up the volume on your courage. This space centers your voice. This space celebrates your passion. This space amplifies your courage. My role? To listen, to amplify, and to stand with you in the fight for equity. My name is Dr. Christy McClamrock. I'm an epidemiologist, consultant, the founder and CEO of Courageous Public Health, and the host of the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Each week, I have unfiltered conversations with BIPOC women in public health about the challenges you face, the power you hold, and your vision for the future. We talk about the authenticity, vulnerability, and courage that you bring, not just to public health, but to every part of your lives. Because courage is about action, even in fear. It's about taking up space, leading unapologetically, refusing to be erased, and knowing you never have to do it alone. If you're ready to turn up the volume on your courage, if you're ready to take up space, if you're ready to smash the racist, patriarchal, cisnormative, heteronormative, ableist, capitalistic systems, then let's dive into this brand new episode. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I'd like to start by introducing myself if you're brand new to the podcast, or reintroducing myself if you're a returning listener. My name is Dr. Christy McClamrock, and I am the CEO of the Courageous Public Health Consulting Firm, where we support public health organizations through workshop design and facilitation and speaking engagements. I am so excited to introduce you to my guest on this episode. Let me formally introduce her, and then we'll jump right into our conversation. Dr. Ericka Horne is a public health consultant who is passionate about faith-based partnerships. She holds a DRPH from Florida A&M University and an MPH from Benedictine University. She has certificates in health education and promotion and epidemiology. Dr. Horne is the founder and CEO of Advocacy Consulting. Though she serves on several national and local boards, most of her time is spent volunteering and mentoring with her community. Dr. Horne uses her platform to engage others in prioritizing self-care, education, and most importantly, their health. As a certified health education specialist, she spends her time providing health education to the community. And through Advocacy Consulting, she assists with program planning and evaluation for nonprofits, faith-based organizations, and underrepresented and Caribbean populations. Let's connect my conversation with Dr. Ericka Horne right now. All right, everybody. I am so excited to introduce Dr. Ericka Horne to the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Hi, Ericka.
Hi, Dr. McClamrock. How are you?
Dr. Horne, so exciting that that's now what I get to call you.
I know, it's officially a thing.
It's officially a thing. And it will stay with you for the rest of your life.
My life. Absolutely.
Oh my gosh. How are you doing?
I'm actually doing really good. I am really excited just to be here. I think this is the first time I am able to do something as Dr. Ericka, so it's really exciting to kind of be on this side of the fence, to be among the greatest. And I'm hanging in there. It's been a lot going on all around the world. But, we're making it, and we're still making impact, and we're still working, and that's what's most important. So I'm good. But how are you doing?
Beautiful. I am good. I always enjoy the time that I get to spend with you, whether it's virtual or in person. We've gotten to meet in person multiple times now.
Yes.
And, I always go back to our really fun dinner at Benihana.
Yes, I always think about that time.
I always think about that. That was so fun. That was really, really fun. So, yeah. And I think we have Dr. Charlotte Huntley to thank for introducing us. So shout out to Charlotte. Thank you, Charlotte.
We appreciate you.
Yes, we do so much. I want to give you actually a chance to introduce yourself. You've told our listeners now that you are Dr. Ericka Horne, but yeah, take a second to introduce yourself.
Wow, I love this. So hi, I am Dr. Ericka Horne. I am Jamaican and Panamanian. I am a doctor of public health. I obtained my degree from FAMU with the certification of behavioral science and health education. I am a certified health education specialist. I am a certified community health worker. I love working in community, for community, and advocating for communities. I am also very involved with working with faith-based organizations and speaking about health, specifically from like a biblical perspective. I am one of many. I have over 8 siblings. I have over 14 nieces and nephews. I'm an aunt to many. And I am just really excited about life and about doing things the way that I was created to do things. And I love being authentic and genuine. And those who know me know that's who I am. And I'm really just excited to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to kind of explain a little bit about who I am.
Absolutely. And you are always such a pleasure to be around. I mean, you emanate this light and this happiness and like, oh, it's so good. It's like, I love to bask in the light and warmth that is Dr. Ericka Horne. I really do. I really do. So I think we should jump right into the questions. Yes. So the first question is about courage. And I always like to start by reminding everybody that bravery is taking action without fear. And courage is taking action despite fear. Mm-hmm. And just for myself, I know that there are a lot of times where I have to fight through my fear to do what needs to be done. So I would really love to hear from you about some experiences from your life, your professional life and your personal life, where you've acted courageously.
That's such a great question. I think a few different instances come to mind when I think about having to act courageously. I'll start with the personal one. I'll say the first one, and it might seem really shallow or like, oh, okay, that's so simple. But for me, it was when I had to like cut my hair off, and I shaved the side of it. The side was like shaved off. And for me, that was an act of courage because I'd never had my hair like shaved. Like I cut my hair often. I like to get my hair, in a bob below, right above the neck, like, or right above my shoulders. I don't like to go too long. I've had it longer before. But I think when I cut my hair that time and it was shaved and it was colored, I finally dyed it and I cut my hair, I was able to just be free. Like I felt like, ooh, this is nice. This is different. I didn't feel like anything was holding me back. And so that was something that I did courageously because in spite of what everybody else was thinking, it really didn't matter what anybody else thought. I had some different health challenges why I decided to cut it, but to actually shave it, I still have the pictures of when my hair was on the ground when I got it shaved. I had a barber for a season, and I just loved that season of life. It was just like so freeing, and that was one thing I will definitely always remember. Sometimes I wonder if I might go back. Sometimes I think about it, but now I've grown my hair out for like the past 3 years, and it's like, I don't know if I want to go back through that phase again.
Yeah, the in-between phase.
So it's like, I have hair now. Maybe let's not cut it again.
It's funny. I know you started by saying like this might sound shallow. I don't think that sounds shallow at all. So no judging your courage, Ericka, Dr. Ericka.
Yes.
And I think a lot of women are going to be able to relate to this.
Yeah.
You know, our
It's a
hair
lot.
and I know, I mean, even more so potentially for BIPOC women, like hair has a lot of meaning. It
Yeah.
represents a lot of things. And so it does take courage to do something different. And, so I think that's such a great example. Really love that
Yeah.
example.
And learning to be comfortable in it, I think, is the
Yeah.
part that was like, okay, yes, you're doing this. I think that leads me to another thing I did personally. So many people, or whether they know or not, I'm a model. So I started modeling plus modeling a few years back, and when I first started, it was like, okay, you want something different or fun to do. This is before I decided to go to school and get my doctorate degree, and I didn't have any really intentions at the time of doing that, and it was just something fun, I thought. But that really took a lot of courage, because a lot of times when you're seen as a model, people just see you as like a face, or they expect a certain size. And I was a plus model, so I was there helping to advocate and speak for those around like body positivity, and it opened up doors for me to continue to encourage young ladies, young women from different mentoring organizations about loving themselves, loving their body in the different seasons of life that they're in, and helping them to see and realize and learn and understand that they are still worthy, they're still valued, they're still worthy of love. Because a lot of times it can be misconstrued if you don't look a certain way, if you don't look like this person, talk like this person, people aren't going to see you. They're not going to value you. And being in public health, being a woman, knowing that there are different health challenges that one can deal with, myself dealing with different health challenges, I know it's not just, okay, you're just plus size because you don't eat right, or you don't work out, or you don't do XYZ. And if you did these things, you would not look this way. And so a lot of young ladies, a lot of women deal with this stereotype of, oh, I have to look a certain way. I have to do these things. And yes, there are things you can do, but you can always maintain your health. And health does not only look one way. And so when I first started, that was the confidence that I needed to get out of my comfort zone. I've done fashion shows. I've been in a few magazines. I've been able to travel throughout the country modeling on different stages, just because I said, you know what, I'm going to get out of my comfort zone of what I think everything is supposed to look like, because people say you look a certain way, you don't get to go and do certain things. And I had to get myself out of that. So in spite of what was being thrown at me, I stood up, I was courageous, and I became an example to other young ladies who were dealing with similar situations or trying to figure out how to love themselves. And I was just really excited to do that. I'm looking forward to doing more of that now that I'm done with school. But that was another personal thing for me when it comes to being courageous and showing up for myself.
I'm so glad that you shared about that. Obviously, we've had conversations about your modeling and photos, getting photos taken, and really like leaning into that. So I'm glad you shared that. And you know, honestly, this thing about what women in particular are supposed to look like. I mean, that is patriarchy. That is one of our broken systems. There are multiple broken systems, but that's one of them for sure.
One for sure.
It's one of them for sure. And so I think, every sort of step that can be taken to push back against that, that's not the world that I want to live in. Like, I want to live in a world where that stuff is not like it is now.
Yeah. And absolutely not to say that, you can't look a certain way, but the whole thing a lot of people deal with is not loving themselves where they
Absolutely.
are. And even if people want to make change, or you're inspired by somebody else, the way someone else looks, and you want to look like them, or, you're inspired to do better in your health, it comes from self-love. And if you don't love yourself enough to do all the things that you were created to do, you'll never make the changes you want to make. And so getting to a place of loving yourself to make those changes is better than, being in a position of like you're doing it to harm yourself, or because you think like this is the only way something has to happen. So, yeah.
Yep. I totally agree. I self-love is a big piece. So yeah, thanks for that. What about in your professional life?
Ooh, so in my professional life, I'll say I had an instance with a superior, one of my supervisors. I was working in a specific area at the time, and one of my supervisors got a promotion, which was amazing, and someone else came in, was given an opportunity to be our new supervisor. And from the moment they got there, there was all these different attacks on certain coworkers. So it wasn't everybody. It was mostly the women of color that worked there. The other white women weren't having the same issues the black women were having. And I had to learn how to lean into advocating for myself effectively, because before this person came, I never had any issues with my work performance. And once this person came, they were trying to change things. And people across the organization were like, hey, what's going on with this data here and that? And I would have to like send emails saying, hey, this is what I gave them. I don't know why they're reporting something different. Or it got to the point where it was like almost harassment. Like I had to go to their supervisor and show them what was happening. And it took them removing me from being around that person. But I didn't allow myself to be comfortable. I feel like the old me would have just said, oh, it's okay. You just have to deal with it. Be nice, play nice. You have to keep your job. But I got to a place where I wasn't worried about whether I kept that job or not. But what you weren't going to do was tarnish my character, tarnish my reputation and the hard work that I do. And so I had to lean into who I was and, be strong and be courageous and go speak to, another supervisor, another chief. And they actually were able to help with the situation. But that situation showed me how strong I was and how much it means to actually advocate for oneself. You hear about it a lot. Oh, you got to advocate for yourself, especially in the workplace. But until you've actually had to experience it and deal with it, it's a whole different thing, because all of the emotions that come with, why is this person doing this? What's going to happen if I say this? Are they going to treat me differently? And you really can't allow those things to keep you from still advocating for yourself. So that was one of the courageous moments I had professionally, and I'm grateful for it because it definitely has taught me a lot and helped me to advocate in other areas of my life.
I hear so many stories about, just similar to this, about BIPOC women being treated differently in the workplace, and unfairly in the workplace. And, it's unfortunate that you had to advocate for yourself, that you had to be the person. But that is, it seems like that is that's what you have to do,
Mm-hmm.
And I like that you said, I appreciate that you said, despite all of the feelings that come up. And I think a lot of those feelings come up because of those messages, right? We get all these messages about what we're supposed to do, or, should do, or have to do, or whatever, all that stuff. And again, I think that's true for women across the board, but it's particularly true for women of color and BIPOC women. So, and I'm glad that you've gotten to a place where you actually appreciate that experience happened, because it helped you grow and it helped you be stronger and learn how to advocate.
Yeah. And it's allowed me to help my clients also, and those that I get to work with and serve, and helping them learn to advocate for themselves and their health as well. So it definitely was key and pivotal for where I've been able to take that lesson.
I love that. That's great. So you mentioned a little bit about power, and I'm just wondering, because I think courage is more than just taking action despite fear. It's also about claiming and expressing your power, and especially in spaces that don't always welcome it, right? That's what you're talking about. So I'm curious about how do you express and embody your power as a Black woman doing the work of public health?
That's a great question. How do I embody my power, express my power? I think for me, the first thing is being authentic to myself, leaning into who I am, knowing what it is I like and don't like, and actually learning about me. That's been the first part of being able to actually embody it, because there was a time where I didn't really know who I was, what I wanted to do. You're still figuring out life. But once I actually leaned into and tapped into who I was, there was nothing you could change about that. Like, once I knew me, and no one could tell me who I was because I knew who I was. And so I was able to express my power by being true to myself, being true to who I know God had created me to be, the purpose he has for me on this earth. And by walking in confidence, I became more confident. I learned confidence. I took these small trainings about being bold, about, understanding your voice, about speaking your voice, about speaking your truth. And I surrounded myself with people who thought the same way. I was very strategic who I was around during this season of growing and empowering myself and expressing myself. And I had to be okay with people not being okay or not liking me expressing myself. I had to learn how to stand up for myself. I had to learn how to advocate for myself, even as a plus woman, even as a professional Black woman in public health, in spaces that don't necessarily always expect me to show up. I had to go even in spaces where people are expecting a Black woman to be. I had to be in the opposite of those spaces. They expect Black women here. I would still go to other rooms and other spaces because sometimes I'm not always fitting in even with Black women, and that's okay. I've always been different. And so I've always also had an opportunity to get along with a lot of different people, so I can mesh well, blend well with a lot of different audiences and people. And I think that's also how I embrace my power, is being able to fit in where I do fit in and being okay where I don't fit in either. And that's a lot of how I've been able to express myself, is leaning into my authenticity, leaning into who Ericka is, and not just what others expect from Ericka or who they expect Ericka to be, but spending time with myself so that I can learn myself, so that I can truly know what I like and dislike, and really fully embody all that I was created to do and be.
That's just beautiful. That's beautiful. And I definitely see you as someone who is so authentic. That's one of my favorite things about you, is your authenticity. And I think it's really commendable that you have intentionally taken the time to figure out who you are and who you want to be.
Yeah. I may not have it right all the time, but if I don't, I take a step back to figure it out, because that's the most important thing. I think even with trying to navigate this space, I really had to dig into who I am, and even things that seemed hard or difficult, where I had to lean into courage. I had to lean into my faith to help me to get through. One of my favorite scriptures that helps me is that Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And so leaning into, okay, this may be hard, but I can do it. Leaning into my faith, leaning into my Christ. I can do it leaning into my Savior. Okay, this is uncommon. Most people who look like you aren't in this space, but that's okay. I can do it. And that's okay. I've leaned into being ready, even if the opportunity doesn't present itself. And sometimes we get discouraged if we're in a space and they don't welcome us yet. And we're like, we have all these grand ideas. I have all these ideas. I want to do this. I want to do this. But nobody's listening. But instead of preparing, a lot of times we just give up. And so instead of giving up, I've intentionally taken the time to prepare myself. Okay, what do I need to have in place when this opportunity does arise? So I don't let the fact that the opportunity may not be there yet keep me, and I don't let the fact that I don't have that opportunity presented before me to stop me from actually showing up, from actually being prepared. Because just because it's a no right now, or I haven't been in that room yet, doesn't mean that it's a no forever. And so for me, it's like, okay, be prepared. Remember who you are. Remember that you can do all things, but be prepared, because once the opportunity comes, you need to be ready to go. Now, you can't wait now. You got to be ready to go. And so those are things that I, condition myself, or I've been dealing with, to make sure that I'm ready. So when those opportunities do arise, whether they're in the spaces I thought they would be or a whole nother space completely, I'm prepared for them.
Yeah. And, the external things can totally shift and change, but internal things can shift and change too. And so I think there are some things that are like, oh no, this is me and this will always be me, right? Mm-hmm. Like your faith is not going to change.
Yeah.
Right. That's something that will always be there. But then there can be other parts that like evolve as we age and as we get more experience. And so knowing yourself at both of those levels, that seems really important. Right? I know the things that are static, and I know the things that are shifting.
Yeah. What are those fundamental things? The fundamental things are never going to change. Like, fundamentally be prepared.
Yep. Well, that leads us into the next question beautifully. I'm really interested to hear what your vision is for the future. And I'm thinking of vision for public health, vision for BIPOC communities, how you see BIPOC women shaping these futures. And then I also definitely want to hear about your personal vision for your future as a Black woman working in public health.
That is a really great question, considering the times we're in.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll say my vision for public health is, one, I just believe that all people fundamentally have a right to health. Like, regardless of who you are, where you are, we all have a right to good health, whether it's, through access for food, access for health insurance, access to medications, to health services. And so when I think of the vision of the future of public health, it's everybody getting access to everything they need without barriers, without anything institutionalized, systemized, without anything that's going to hinder a person from being able to live their best, whole, healthy life. I think that health is a gift, and those of us who work in the space, especially Black women, we have carried a lot on our shoulders, in our bodies, on our backs for this nation for so long. And we're often one of the most disrespected when it comes to understanding and dealing with a lot of it. And I still see us still leading the charge. I still see us still showing up in those spaces that we're most times not really welcome to. Every time you see some advancement going on for, Black women or BIPOC women, then the systems change to make it harder for us in those spaces, to make it more difficult. And so I see that as a continual uphill battle. I don't think it will stop the work that's being done, though, at all. I honestly believe that we'll continue to do this work. We'll continue to be the change wherever we are. And sometimes it may not be the change on like the national platform or the international platform. It's just sometimes just being the local change, like where you are. There's an opportunity to work locally, even if you're not working for an organization, whether you're an entrepreneur, you have your own business, or you're doing both. Like, I work for an organization and I have my own business. How am I able to marry the passions and I honestly started my business, that was also something I did courageously because I wasn't being fulfilled in certain areas in work. And so initially it's like, okay, even if these things happen where you have rules and regulations, personally, what can you do? And that's what Black women do. We show up, we create new ways to do something. We will be the face. And even if we're not the face, we are behind the scenes doing the work. It's not necessarily about getting the recognition. But at the end of the day, for me, I see us working together to ensure that all people are living a healthy life. The maternal child health crisis, we already know, is already continually worse for Black women. And so knowing that that's an uphill battle, because if we aren't protecting our Black women, that means our Black babies aren't being protected, meaning that Black life is not protected. And so for addressing that in and of itself is already something that we as Black women are working towards addressing in the many different areas we can be working in, whether it's environmental, whether it's in chronic disease, whether you're working in any sector of public health. We're already working towards these things. I don't see that changing. We may see shifts in funding sources, of how the works, of what, how people are getting paid to do the work, but the work is still going to be done. I think Black women are showing up like they always have, and they'll continue to show up because that's just what we do. We are resilient. We stand strong. We show up authentically as ourselves, especially in spaces where we don't necessarily always feel like we're getting the attention, but regardless of that, we still show up. And so even along those lines, when I think about like what I'm doing personally for my vision, like I see myself doing what I can where I'm at, whether it's advocating, whether it's speaking to a group of young ladies at an event and teaching them how to advocate for themselves, or just to understand who they are and teaching them about confidence, or just their menstrual health. Like, how am I advocating there, teaching them about nutrition and the nutrients and the foods they're eating, and just showing up where I am. And as I continue to show up where I am, then I can continue to, inspire the next generation, inspire those who are interested. And that trickle down effect in turn will hopefully increase the amount of other Black women and BIPOC women who are willing and wanting to get into these spaces to continue the work of public health. And hopefully, they see where they belong. They see that there is still a hope in light, and in spite of the current situation, that public health workers, we still just have more work to do, but that doesn't mean that the work is not going to get done, and we're going to show up and do it. Did I answer the question?
Yes, you did. I think you did. And you keep showing up, and that's wonderful. Thank you for showing up here to talk.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that our listeners are gonna appreciate your insights and your perspective. It's really important for that to be heard. So I wanted to ask you, what is the best way for our listeners to connect with you so that they get to learn more about you and also more about your courage? What's the way to do that?
The easiest ways to connect with me are on LinkedIn. My name, Ericka Horne, DRPH, MPH, Ches, CCHW, all the alphabet soup at the end.
Okay,
yes.
We'll put it in the show notes, so
it'll be in the show notes.
People can find it easily.
If you're on Instagram, you can follow me at Dr. Ericka K. So DRERICKAKAY, Dr. Ericka K. And if you need to email me, my information will be shared in the links as well. Fantastic.
Well, it's been a pleasure, as it always is. And we'll definitely be in touch.
Yes. Thank you again so much for having me. I really enjoyed our time today.
Thanks.
Sometimes courage is standing tall in spaces that weren't built to hold you. Sometimes courage is modeling self-love so that others can see their own worth. Sometimes courage is using your voice to advocate for equity and justice. Dr. Ericka Horne reminds us that courage grows stronger when it's rooted in authenticity, faith, and the power of preparation. You can connect with Dr. Horne on LinkedIn to learn more about her and her courage. All the links to connect with her are on our show notes page for this episode, located on our website, courageouspublichealth.com, under episode 18. Before you return to your day, take a minute to sign up for the weekly Courageous Public Health podcast email updates so you never miss an episode. You can do that on our website, www.courageouspublichealth.com, because there's more great stuff to come. Thanks so much for being here. Until our next episode, stay courageous. Thank you for listening to the Courageous Public Health Podcast. Visit courageouspublichealth.com to find the show notes for each episode and learn how to connect with us.